Stack sides, feeling brown, I got no cash. Can't afford the tip, got me feeling kinda sad, but we.
What's up? Welcome to Have Fun Stacking Sats. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to the man himself, the stack chain legend, Derek, master mempool operator, full-on stack chainer, and master of Nostr. What's going on, man?
Anthony, I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, man. It's good to sit down with you and talk. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to have you, man. On these episodes of Have Fun Stacking Sats, where we interview stack chainers, we usually go through their stack chain journey or their Bitcoin journey and ask about those sorts of things. But I mean, the thing right now is Nostr.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in that. So let's get into that. Do you have like a brief explanation of what it is? Because I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I know you're not. I've been trying, man. I've been trying. So Nostr is a decentralized social protocol, communication protocol. I guess I shouldn't say social because it can be used for a lot more than just social. So it's a decentralized communication protocol. You know, it's built specifically by Bitcoiners. Like Bitcoiners built this, and it's made for the world, but there's some things in there that definitely tailor to Bitcoiners, like the integration with the Lightning Network and just like the whole Bitcoin philosophy on things. But it's a decentralized, censorship resistant protocol. Sound familiar, right? Like it sounds a lot like Bitcoin, right? There's clients, and there's all sorts of different clients. There's web clients, there's apps on your phone, there's command line clients, there's apps that are like Telegram, there's apps that are like Reddit, and then there's the social aspect. There's all sorts of clients out there that are like Twitter, basically a social platform, a social like media network, and people like you and me, we can run parts of it. We can run a Bitcoin node. Well, you can essentially run a Nostr node, but they're called relays in that aspect. And if you want to, you can run one and help support the network, or at least support yourself. Choose a client and just start posting. Like it's great. But that's the 10,000 foot view, I guess. I mean, we can dive into.
So you mentioned that it's like you can access it command line, or there's like social media aspect, or like a Reddit. Is it one thing viewed in different ways, or is it, if you want to have like a Reddit experience, you can set up like a Reddit style social media experience, or if you want to have more of a Twitter experience, that's something different, but it's built on top of Nostr.
Yeah, so at the protocol level, it's just a bunch of text that's flying around this network. And then people can build clients to utilize that text however they want. If they want to build a messaging platform like Telegram with channels, you can do that. If you want to build basically a Reddit system where there's posts and comments, you can do that. People were talking about using it as to push GitHub commits. Actually, I think that was actually done. A GitHub commit to Bitcoin Core, I think, was done within the past year by the protocol developer Fiat Joff. I think he did that a while ago just to show that it could be done. So the neatest thing about Nostr is it is stupidly simple. It is just text and JSON messages. JSON messages are a standard to send data around the internet. Like websites use these to send data from one website to another website. So that's all that we're doing, is transmitting basic text data from one client to a relay and to a relay to another client. And it's very, very, very simple. Like, relays are just dumb. They don't do anything besides have information sent to them and they send it out elsewhere. Like that's all they do. I mean, kind of like, they relay information. But clients can be as complex or as simple as you want. Like there's people that are building essentially Twitter replacements, and the apps are really, really nice. Like, they work really well. They're not all the same. Some aren't as developed as others. Some are focusing on certain features. Some are focusing on other features. So the coolest thing about it, Anthony, is you can, since it's at the protocol level, you can literally build the social network experience that you want. It's that open to build whatever you think you need. You can do it.
But other people would have to interact with that client that you built.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like you're using one thing and I'm using a different thing and we can both communicate with each other. We both have to be using the same. Oh, you can.
Yes. So you're an iPhone user. You could use the Damus app on your iPhone. There is no fully functional Android app yet, but there's tons of different websites. So I can use those websites, those like web clients on my desktop or on my phone. And you can use the Damus app, or you can use websites on your phone, and we can all talk together. That's the beauty of it, that there's a dozen clients out there, some better than others, but we can all use the client that fits us and meets our needs, and we can all communicate together on this protocol level. So we can interact with each other's posts. We can comment, we can like, we can tip each other sats. Sats tipping is built into every client. Like, it's so cool. And you know how with StackChain, we onboarded like so many people to the Lightning Network because they didn't really know about it. So we started that whole initiative.
Sure.
Nostr's the same way. It's surprising. A lot of people don't use Lightning. And like Nostr was their like first foray into it because it's so frictionless and so stress-free just to send a few sats to somebody. You like their post, boom, you click a button, you send them some sats. And this whole value for value thing is really taken off. And, I'm tipping people were tipping me, total strangers. We're just sending sats around the world. And the whole value for value economy that Nostr is kind of pushing makes people want to partake. So people were setting up Lightning nodes for the first time and opening channels. I had people, we had this, people DMing me saying, hey, I'm opening up my first channel. I'll make this Lightning payment here in a little bit. I just need the channel to open. I've never opened one before. So it's really, really cool. It's indirectly pushing adoption.
So yeah. Okay. Well, take me step by step. I haven't set up anything. So here I am at 0 and I decide that I want to participate in this. What's the first thing that I do?
Well, you need to choose a client. So since your friend, I know you have an iPhone, you would use the Damus app. However, it is in Apple's test flight beta right now. The author...
Like Breeze Wallet.
Yeah, the author's trying to get it accepted to the main standard Apple store because he's hit the 10,000 user limit. He's fighting some hurdles right now with Apple. So if you can't get in the test flight, which it's full, but yesterday and today he kicked out some inactive accounts and freed up some slots. That's not going to happen very often. So I'll say you would use that app if you were lucky enough to get in. If you weren't, there's multiple web clients for you to use. Two that I would recommend would be astral.ninja or snort.social. They're both great web clients. I use them on my desktop and I use them on my phone. Android, there is no fully functional Android app. So me as an Android maxi, which I don't know if you can see back there in my they're up here. I have a bunch of Android guys up there. So I love me some Android. So I don't have an app yet. There's 2 to 3 that are in the works. One is almost usable. But anyways, so the common function, no matter what platform you're on, desktop, Android, iPhone, is you go to one of these sites or apps and you create keys. So I won't say you create an account like you would on a normal social media site, because we're not doing that here. We're creating a private key and a public key, just like Bitcoin. And your account is your public key, and then your private key is, kind of like your password.
Right.
These keys then, your public key you give to everybody. That's how they find you and find your content. Your private key is how you sign the transaction to interact with a post, to interact with a client, to make a post, to write to your public profile. You need to sign the transaction. Just like Bitcoin, you want to send a Bitcoin event, you have to sign the transaction. Same on Nostr. You want to send a Nostr event, you have to sign the transaction. So you will use your public key either in the app, but if you're using a website, you probably don't want to go and enter your private key into websites, right? You want to kind of
Well, okay. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, Bitcoin, public key, private key. We go out of our way to secure our private key, and we don't do things like communicate with it. We stick it, we stick it on a seed plate and bury it in the backyard, and pour concrete on it. Or whatever. So nobody. But
you probably don't want to do that with your social, because every time you're going to want to make a post, you're like, honey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm digging up the backyard. I want to make a post on social media. I need my key.
Where do you store your key? How do you store your key?
So for web browsers, there's two different extensions out there. One was developed by the protocol developer. It's called Nostr, and then the other one is Alby, like the Lightning wallet, Alby. Alby has a key signing feature as well. So you would either use one of those two extensions as your signing device, as your wallet, basically, right, to sign your transaction and to hold your private key. So you use one of those extensions and you sign into a website. You get an authorization saying, hey, this wants to be signed. Do you want to sign this transaction? And you say, yes, I do. And you click the button. You can authorize it forever, for 5 minutes, for a minute, for a one-time event, whatever your preferences are. But no matter what, that key is held in the extension. Your private key is held in the extension, just like it's held in your Bitcoin wallet.
Right. So these private keys for your social media are pretty much always in a hot wallet.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what they are. Now, and we are very early with Nostr, so people have burned their private keys accidentally. I'll talk about that here in a little bit more. I have some interesting stories with that. But it's a social media account, and we're very early. The thought process is that you, at least now at this time, people are probably going to have things happen to their keys. It's early on, but that doesn't mean you should be lackadaisy in your security. In the future, there may be ways to easily migrate all of your followers and following from one set of keys to another. But right now, that tool doesn't exist. The developer community has been talking about different ways to do this, tools to kind of make it easy to migrate from one account, one private key and public key, to the next. If you were to have your keys burnt, that doesn't exist yet, but it will. Like there's a lot of discussion around that, because developers understand that we're only human, and if we're constantly bringing our keys and using our keys in a hot wallet thousands of times, a week, that something bad could happen. So we need to have that kind of tool, which kind of brings me to the next part of setting up your brand new profile, is that your public key is really hard to remember. It's a whole bunch of numbers and character letters. Right. You're not going to remember what that is. So I can't say, hey, Anthony, follow me on Nostr. I'm 372
I remember every Bitcoin address I've ever populated.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really hard. So the developers came up with something called NIP, seeing how Bitcoin has the BIPs. Well,
Yeah.
Nostr has the NIPs. It's the Nostr Improvement Proposal. So Nostr Improvement Proposal 05, NIP 05 is for identity. It allows you to basically assign a identifier to your public key, something that looks like an email address. It makes your public key human readable, right? So
like
I can,
LN URL type deal.
yeah, exactly. It looks like an email address. It's username at domain name, and it's unique, and it allows you to say to you, Anthony, hey, I'm Derek Ross .me, or I'm Derek Ross at nostrplebs.com. And then you type that in and it comes up, and you didn't know my public key and you're able to find me. So it is an identity for your public key in human readable format so people can find you. So
okay, and you've been setting that up. I've been seeing
yeah.
registering people through your own. So what's the domain that you set up?
So I have my own domain name, derekross.me. I've had for forever. I'm an old man. I've had it for many years. So I have this domain. I add my NIP05 identifier to my name on Nostr, and all of our Bitcoin buddies are joining. All the plebs are joining. They're like, "Whoa, you have a check mark beside your name. How'd you do that already?" And I'm like, "Oh no, this has nothing to do with like Twitter verification. It's you can kind of do this yourself." They're like, "Well, how do you do that?" I said, "Well, you need to have a website. You need to have a domain name." And right now, a large portion of the population says, "Oh, well, I don't have a domain name or a website or web server, so I can't do that." Sure. So I had a couple of our friends DM me or reply to my post and say, "Hey, could you help me out with this?" And I started thinking, I was like, well, yeah, why couldn't I buy a domain name and set up a website and do what I did for myself, for my friends, for other people? So I did it for like 3 or 4 people, 5 people, 6 people, and I figured I was done. But then kind of a light bulb moment went off, and I'm like, oh my God, there's how many people that want this done that are joining Nostr. They need an identifier. They need to be easily found. It's hard to find your friends. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a way that you could find all your friends right away and find out who they are, and they have an identifier?
Yeah.
Identify.
It just occurred to me too. Like, so if I register an identifier with you, if I'm Anthony at
nostrplebs.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I lose my private keys.
Yeah.
And my instance of Nostr just gets burned. It's gone forever. I lost it. So I generate a new set of private keys. Could I re-register it with?
Absolutely. So then what you can do is you can go and you update your public key to point to that identifier that everybody knows. So you can have as many public keys over the course of time as you want, because that identifier always points to the public key that you're using, as long as you go and update it. So I started managing this all by hand. People were DMing me left and right. Hey, how do I do this? So I started saying, you know what, for 10,000 sats, for a couple minutes of my time, that's, at the time it was like $1.70, I'm like, 10,000 sats, I'll do it for you. I'll set this up. So I bought nostrplebs.com. And I went, and it's a simple text file. It's really, really easy to do. But like I said, not everybody has either the means or the time to do this. So I started doing it for people, friends initially, and then everybody. Just with the first day, I had 76 or 86 people messaging me to do this. So I'm constantly generating Lightning invoices, posting a Lightning invoice. And on Nostr, when you like on Twitter, it's all ugly. It's all letters and numbers and everything. Well, if you copy and paste a address or an invoice into Nostr, it automatically makes it into a pretty QR code for you. So it's really easy and really simple. So I'm just generating invoices left and right, and I'm getting my DMs are on fire. Like, I have so many people registering. Like I said, I did nearly 80 in the very first day, all by hand. And well, not everybody understands how this all works too. They're like, hey, I bought this, now what do I do with it? So now I'm giving people all the tech support too at the same time, saying, okay, well, what client are you using? And at the time, there's like 4 clients people were using. Okay, here's how you go and do it. Because once you buy the identifier, you need to go to your profile settings and kind of add your ID in there for it to be recognized by the system. So I'm doing this all by hand, and it's a lot of fun. Like I'm having fun doing it because I'm using Lightning in ways that I've never really made sense before. Like we've all bought things and sent people money around the world on Lightning, but using it to like sell like goods and services is kind of different. It's fun and instant and cheap, and it's just intoxicating. So I'm having the time of my life doing this for people, and I get to a point where I'm like, hey, I don't know if I can do this all by myself, because all I'm doing is spending all my time living in this text file, updating it, and then my DMs. That's all I did. And thankfully, I was off work during the Christmas holiday break, because I was in my basement for 8 hours doing this nonstop. And when I came upstairs, my wife's like, "Were you working today?" I'm like, "Kinda," Anyways, our friend Semi-Soul, he's a developer and was working on some Nostr things over the past couple months. So I started talking to him about what I was doing, and he's like, "Hey, I wanted to do something like this." And I was like, "Well, we can do this together because I need help, and I know you're a developer, and I'm going to hack together, and this is how I'm going to do it." And I explained to him how I was going to do it, and I was going to use BTC Pay server, and I was going to write a couple bash scripts, like shell scripts, to do some things. And he's like, no, we're not doing it this way. Semi, he's like, basically I was going to make it work, but it was going to be half-assed, but it was going to be so much better than the manual thing I was doing. And Semi's like, in his, Semi way, is like, this is how we need to do it. Let's go. And 5 hours later, maybe 6 hours later, he wrote this whole entire application to automate the whole process. And since we automated the entire process, we've had something like 700 users, I believe, maybe more than that, that we've sold identifiers to. After a couple days, competitors started popping up doing the same thing, because like I said, it's really simple. It's just not everybody has the time or the means to do it. If you can pay 10,000 sats and click a button and have it be done, most people just want an identity that, they don't really care what domain name or, they're using. They just want to do it so they can find their friends and their friends can find them. So we started adding services to make us kind of stand out from the competition and be different. I started buying different domain names.
It's been like 3 weeks, Derek.
I know.
It's been 3 weeks and you're already looking for a competitive advantage. That's how fast this thing is moving.
Semi and I operate as a business. We have an internal GitHub. We have an issue tracker. We have statistics. I do marketing research on all of our competitors to see what services they're offering. I haven't looked since this morning, but I believe we have 39% of the IDs. It's kind of on Nostr are ones that we've provided for people.
He's so proud of himself. Good job. Well done, man. I mean, this thing just okay. So I went
on a tangent there, Anthony. I'm sorry. I'm excited and proud of what we've built.
Yeah,
we've built some cool stuff, man. And we're not stopping. We're not stopping. Like, we're adding services left and right. I got to keep going. I got to keep talking about it. We've added Lightning address integration. So Derek Ross at nostrplebs.com is my identity. And number 2, it's also used for payment. So identity and payment in the same address. We're going to add email to it. We're working on that.
Ooh,
so you can get email in your DMs then. So, and think of this. You get that email, that DM, it comes in as an email. What if they have to pay a Lightning invoice to communicate with you? It cuts down on spam immediately. We're working on that. We're going to have our own relay, like our own server for our members.
Yeah.
that comes with different tiers of service. We have a directory with all of our members listed in it. Like we're really trying to stay ahead of the competition, and we're working hard. Like we have live support 24/7 with a chat bot that week. Like Sammy and I have like the chat bot and app installed on our phone, so no matter where we're at, we can provide support to our users. False Faucet, who you've had on the show before, friend of Stack Chain, he's helping us out and answering some questions for people in the live chat. We have support articles and guides. Like we're not messing around, man. It's wild over the past 3 weeks what we've been able to build and do and turn this into a makeshift Bitcoin and Nostr company, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, and you guys are moving so quick. I mean, that's basically somebody just handed you the tools and you started putting the Legos together.
Well, yeah, and it was so organic, just like Stack Chain was. Like I was just doing something fun for friends, and then it kind of turned into, oh wow, I could actually do this for more people, and then I did, and then it was okay to make it better. Now I need help. And now we need these services, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. Like I'm getting people from other countries now asking if we're going to put some of our guides in our website in Spanish and in Portuguese. Like, and this guy offered, he's a MBA from Spain. He offered to do the translation on the articles in our webpage for us to. Because I said, well, I guess I could put up as Google Translate. And he's like, yeah, but it'll miss some things. And I was like, all right, well, what should we do? And he's like, I want to help. I want to, you know. So it's really growing. And I'm still kind of shocked every time I look at it as to, you know, what we've been able to do with this all kind of falling into our laps out of nowhere and just riding the energy and the excitement into new things every day.
Where is the data stored? So if I post a post, you know, I sign with my private key and hello world, where is that data stored?
So you need to pick a relay, a server for your note, your events and notes to go to. So you can pick different relays that other people are using around the world, different continents. And you can also have one in your own home. So that's where that data lives. Now, how Nostr is censorship resistant, let's say there's a server that a relay that you're using in the United States, and for whatever reason, they decide they want to ban you or stop you from posting for whatever reason. Well, you just post your content to another relay, maybe one in Canada, maybe one in Finland or somewhere. And no matter where you go, since your friends, people that follow you, are just following your public key across the network, they'll just follow you to the next place your public key starts posting information. So they can always go to a new relay. And because you can run your own relay, you can always have all of your data privately held on your own node. So right now, for example, I have my own relay. It's private. I only allow myself and 2 other people to publish to it, but I use it as kind of like we want to be in control of our data. So all of the content that I post, I have it, but then I also send it out to a bunch of other relays all around the world. Now, images and videos, Nostr, as I've said before, doesn't do that, right? It is just clearly just text. That's all it is, just text. So if you want to post any type of videos or any type of images, that's kind of a downfall on that, because now you have to rely on somebody else for those videos. So there's been multiple like file storage websites that have popped up to allow you to do that. Clients are going to do that. There's 2 clients that I can think of right now that have image hosting, but everyone is working on that because they want their users to be able to upload images as easy as they're used to doing on Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah, for sure.
But since
But
that's
then
a centralized part of it, though.
yeah, that data would live on those clients' relays or servers or whatever.
Yeah, their file sharing server, it would live there. So if that would ever get taken down, go away, then that image is gone. But so that's a downside to it. Maybe we'll come up with a better solution for images in the future, but right now that's what's happening. But all of the text content, the text is yours and will go where you want it to go and can be pushed everywhere. And so that kind of stuff is
when you say it can be pushed anywhere. So I've got my ID, I've got my client, and I have chosen your relay.
Okay.
And so for 3 or 4 months, I'm posting content. Every day I'm talking about what I ate for breakfast. It's very important. Everybody needs to know this. All right. So then one day Derek decides, if I have to hear about this guy's breakfast one more time, I'm going to jump off a bridge. So you don't allow me to use the relay anymore.
Yes.
So now I got to go pick another relay because Derek doesn't like breakfast.
I don't.
So I go find a breakfast relay, John's breakfast relay, and I connect to him. So all the content that was on your relay, is it gone?
I mean, it's there unless I would go into it and delete it from the database. It would live indefinitely on my relay until I went in and purged it. Until I went in and said, let's get rid of it.
Those old posts are still on yours, or do they get shared with the new one?
No, they don't unless you would go and rebroadcast them. So there are relays around and services around that allow you to rebroadcast events. So you would have to go to those specific events. And right now it's kind of shadowy supercoder to do it. It's not the greatest intuitive thing. You have to take some manual steps, but you can go to a website, go to a specific post that you made, an event or a note that you posted, and you can click a button and rebroadcast it, and you can manually type in the new relays where you want it to go, and it will be rebroadcasted at. So there are solutions for it. We probably need them to be easier in the future, but
this doesn't sound like it was designed to be an archival service anyways. The idea of this is to be able to communicate decentralized, not find out what I had for breakfast 4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it could be, right? At the protocol level, it can do whatever you want it to. So if you wanted it to do that, and these posts that people make, I don't know if there's an actual limit to how. I mean, I've written some very long, blog style, 1,000-word, very long posts. So you could use it as a public blogging platform. Yeah. So I think they can live forever as long as. Okay. So and maybe Anthony, maybe if you're using it that way as a place to publicly, your newsletter to publish that way, maybe you would keep it on your own node, and then if you get blocked somewhere, you would go out and use a tool to rebroadcast all of your content to the next relay that you go to. Because you can absolutely do that. It's not extremely user friendly to do yet. It's early in that regard. There's so many things that people want to do and people are building every day. We'll get there eventually.
Well, so Nostr's lifespan is 3 weeks, as far as I'm concerned, because that's when I first heard about it from you guys. So Nostr's been around for 3 weeks, but how long has it actually been around?
Over a year, somewhere between 1 to 2 years. Semi actually told me about it 3 months ago, right? And I went and checked it out, and I'm like, oh, this is ugly. It's not very friendly. The user interface sucks. I'm not going to use this. And then the next month, he's like, hey, you should check this out. I'm like, it's still really bad, man. But I don't know what fires got lit under people's asses, per se. The Jack Dorsey being interested in it, him donating 14 Bitcoin to development. In the past 3 weeks, in the amount of people that have jumped on to build and help others out and have built products and services, apps, clients, whatever, it's crazy. They're improving. There's a dozen apps that improve every single day. Like, it's wild. It really is to see this.
What makes this different from the great Mastodon migration that occurred?
Well, so
I
remember that. I didn't do it. I remember that. So what makes this different? Well, actually, NVK that made the BitcoinHackers.org Mastodon server, where there's thousands of people's accounts, he's actually going to be spinning that down. He announced in going to Nostr. So that's kind of a signal there. But but there's thousands of Mastodon servers out there, right? But with Mastodon, you're kind of at the whim of the server you go to. If the server operator wants to ban you, they can. Now with Mastodon, since it's federated, you can go through some steps to migrate your followers to a new server, but you can't migrate your posts. Like, those things don't work as well. And you're also kind of at the whim of the servers. The Mastodon servers, some don't play nicely with others. When I found out recently, because I started using Bitcoin Hackers whenever Elon was doing some shady shit on Twitter, and I started using Bitcoin Hackers, and I had friends that were making accounts on various places, and then they were messaging me saying, hey, the Mastodon server I chose apparently doesn't like BitcoinHackers.org. I can't add you. I was like, what, really? And he started looking into it, and there was various servers that was like, oh, Bitcoin, that's bad, and they banned BitcoinHackers.org.
Okay.
So
I didn't realize Mastodon was used for anything else except for BitcoinHackers.org. Like, what the hell are you going to do on Mastodon?
I created a Mastodon account like in 2016, I think. I found it recently and reactivated it. But Mastodon's cool, but it's not as cool as Nostr. It's not
cool. So, I mean, I went there I was part of the whole Mastodon migration, and that wasn't it. That was not it. So,
I think that the part of the excitement here, Anthony, is that it's a protocol that's built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners and for the world.
That's a bonus.
It's so closely integrated.
Relay architecture is fascinating.
Yeah,
and the fact that it's like a protocol, because people are building on top of it, as opposed to something like Mastodon. Mastodon is, here it is, this is how you use it.
Yes.
While Nostr is more of a, here's the tools, you build it.
You build it to the social platform that you want it to be, and that's what people were doing. That's what more talented developers than me are doing. I'm just hacking shit together that seems to work, but you can really make it into whatever you want to. And I really, really think Nostr, because of that tie to the Bitcoin community and because it's a protocol, it is something that's really, really different. And yes, there probably is a honeymoon phase in the beginning when everyone is super excited, and that probably at some point will die down. But let me say this, Anthony. If Jack Dorsey thought that it was something that wouldn't be around, why would he spend all day every day on it? Like, he can see the potential of it.
Right.
Why would Elon Musk 3 weeks ago try to ban it when there was like 5,000 people in the world that used it? Like that's really weird to say, hey, you can't post your Facebook profile, your LinkedIn profile, or your Nostr profile.
I mean, like, well, how many billions of dollars did he dump on Twitter? I'd be banning shit too.
Well,
I'd be like, you're not even allowed to think about Facebook.
I mean, he might not be the smartest guy in some aspects. I don't know, but Elon was the greatest thing for Nostr. He literally banned it, and then everyone's just said, wait a second, you're banning this? We don't like censorship. We don't like that. And Bitcoiners flocked to it immediately. So he was the best thing to happen, in my opinion, to Nostr. It got it on everybody's radar. Like, you dumbass. Like, if you really wanted it to not succeed, then you shouldn't have said anything.
Do the web clients work on mobile?
Yeah, well, that's what I use, because there's not a working Android client yet.
Okay.
So on my phone, I use the Kiwi web browser, because the Kiwi web browser allows extensions. And earlier I had said that you want to have your signing device extension Albi or NOS2X. So on my phone, I use the Kiwi web browser and the NOS2X extension, which you can use also get Albi, but I don't use that one. And those extensions on my phone then hold my private key. And I use the astral.ninja and snort.social clients on my phone.
So on the app client, so like the web-based browser has the extension. That's where you keep your private keys.
Yes.
On the clients, like when you download like an app, does that just have like built-in?
I'll tell you what, I would assume that it's saved in the Apple key store, like the secure element. But I don't know. I'm not the dev of Damus.
Okay.
Will Kasarian could probably answer that better than me. He is a shadowy supercoder. he is amazing. The amount of work that he's put in and constantly iterating and changing for Damus, his app is amazing. Like, he's just
because so I can see two things about private keys on a hot wallet, right?
Yeah.
So these are your identity keys on a hot wallet. So the two things are, you screw up, you burn them. Now you can't access you anymore. Like, you can't speak anymore because you burned your private keys.
Well, you would be able to speak, but other people would be able to speak too, right? Like, if you had my private key, you can't delete my account, but you could also go in there and post as me and read my DMs and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's the second part, is if somebody steals your private key, now they can impersonate you. So those would be like the...
Yeah. So in that regard, what you would do is you would generate new keys, and then you would move your NIP05 identity over to your new public key and say, hey guys, this is me. Here's my NIP. So right now, clients don't follow NIP 05 IDs. They don't do that. They follow public keys. But in the future, as I was mentioning, clients and tools will exist to make that easier to transition from burned to new. We don't have that yet, but we will. There's a lot of talk about it because it's inevitable to happen. Now, you're a fan of Cold Card. NVK has been talking about doing things. Now, I don't know if we want to hold a cold card or a tap signer or up to our phone every single time we want to make a social media post constantly, but there are things like that being discussed where
I could see a system where you're installing a new app and they've set it up to where you authorize that app with your private keys.
Yeah.
So the private keys don't actually go on the app. You just need to prove that you're you. So you pull out your little hardware device, you prove that you're you put it back in the pocket. Now that app is good to go. Something like, not exactly, because
it's something like that, but you would need to keep signing every single time you do something.
Yeah.
But there's talks of being able to use a key derivative for this. So you would basically authorize a derivative key to be used, and if that key gets burned, that's fine. Your main private key isn't burned. I don't really understand how that 100% works.
That makes perfect sense, because Bitcoin wallets used to just be one address, right? And then it was changed to where your private key could generate multiple address. Like, now every time you receive Bitcoin, you use a new address. So it could kind of be the same thing where the private key gives that same kind of system authorization. And says,
there's a lot of cool things that are going to be worked on as this becomes more popular and people start relying on it more. Like, more tools. There's going to be more money coming into this to give developers, more money to fund their efforts, and it's just going to get better. Like, it's gotten so much better over the past 3 weeks that
it's moving fast. And
Yeah.
I'll give it that. I'll admit that it's moving fast, and the Mastodon migration didn't have that. Mastodon didn't do anything. You just went there and did the same thing.
Yeah.
And when I'm listening to you guys in the back channels talk, you're talking about, wow, I just built this thing. My experience has changed in this way. Oh, hey, here's a thing we could do. Does anybody know how we could do that?
Yeah.
Which,
it's exciting. It's different. Like, I'm doing things that I didn't think I would do. Like, we've talked before that, how fun it would be to, work in Bitcoin, and do something with Bitcoin instead of just, I guess you're doing that now with Have Fun Stacking Sats. I didn't mean to dismiss it. You're doing it, so I needed to do it too, right?
Yeah, so welcome to it as well, sir.
Yeah. So we're doing it, man. Like, we are, and it's fun. It's exciting.
It is great. It's great, and it makes me happy to see the happiness in your face. Actually,
yeah. Well, good.
So I can see that you're into. Well, dude, yeah, You got me. I'll mess around.
You need to check it out, man. Look at it this way. Do you remember that Spaces that we did where Peter came in and it's like, I'm not fucking using Nostr. That thing sucks. Less than a week later, Peter started using Nostr. Buddha, he's on there. Lauren, Q. That's a lot of stack chainers, man. False, nobody.
The power of this is censorship resistance, obviously.
Yes.
And the big problem with social media is proving the point of, you don't want to give your guy the power that could be given to the guy that's not your guy, right? So the political party in power is obviously really influential in the social media networks.
Yeah,
and political parties
we found that out. Yeah,
and they flip. So now, so 1 year, these people don't have a voice, and 4 years later, those people have a voice, but now the other people don't have a voice. That's not how freedom of speech works. That's not how the marketplace of ideas works. Offensive speech is the only speech that requires protection. Right?
It's a unique way to look at it, but you're right.
Yeah. So things like the First Amendment were specifically designed to allow people to say things that are unpopular to say, because some of those ideas might be good ideas. So you have to take the revolutionary with the offensive, filter through it, use your own personal judgment. And that's how the marketplace of ideas works.
Yeah.
But under the current social media paradigm, it doesn't work, because there's gatekeepers deciding what's appropriate and inappropriate to say. So at any point in time, information is stalled according to whoever's pulling the strings.
So that's an actually unique point, Anthony. So Will, that the author of the Damas app that's has 10,000 users and it's like a better version of Twitter, he tried to post it to the Apple App Store last week, and Apple denied it, which is basically par for the course. That's what Apple does.
Yeah, it's not unusual.
Nobody gets through the first time. They have to go back and retool and make changes. So no big deal. But some things that they flagged it on is saying that since he submitted it as a social network app, that you needed to have some type of blocking and muting and content moderation, filtration, these type of things. That makes sense that Apple would say this, because that's what every other social network has. They needed a way to report, bad actors, block some content if you don't like it, if you don't want to see it. And at the time, none of that existed, and Will's finding creative ways to meet these type of things. Now, since it's just text on the internet, you can't go out there and delete it, but that doesn't mean that his client couldn't hide it. So if something comes up that's offensive to me and I don't want to see it, or I don't want to see that user, I can't technically report them and block them, but I could, in my client, say I don't want to see this anymore and block it. Right. So he's coming up with ways to
So then you're going to have to carry block lists with you when you decide to switch to a new client or something. So somebody's going to have to develop
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the neat thing about that is that right now that would only work on one client, but there's some
Right.
interoperability that some of the clients are kind of working on and realizing that some things, your contact list type things, your relay list, like things like that need to follow your profile. So maybe there'll be a NIP, or maybe there is one, because I don't know which event this would be handled in. A special event. Maybe there's a special event that says these kind of messages are blocked messages or something like that, and you wouldn't see them. So developers have said there are ways to kind of do this at the protocol level. It's not censorship, but it's allowing the user that wants that content to be hidden to them.
Right. If it's attached to my keys and I make the decision and that travels through the relays,
Yes.
and it's not the protocol that's blocking.
It's nobody at the top making a decision down. It's the user. And that's actually better too, because it's you being in control of what you see. And you should absolutely be in control of it. You shouldn't have somebody out there telling you what you can see. You should be able to make that decision.
Which is fine. I mean, the objection to social media censorship is they're withholding information from you that you would like to have.
Yes.
Or that you want the decision to pay attention to or to not pay attention to.
And if in the future there's a client that starts doing those type of things, like, maybe...
Sounds like it's very easy to build another client.
Well, yeah. I mean, you go to a new client, and we're going to see things like that, maybe not to that level in the future, but we're going to see clients, because they have to make money. They have to pay their server bills. They have to pay their development costs. So maybe they start running advertisements.
Or maybe there's a new financial model for social media.
Well, so yes, that actually is being worked on. There's ways that you're going to be able to stream sats to relay operators and to client. So these things are being worked on to make it easy, because right now it's kind of like on a value for value donation model.
Yeah, and that
but these things are being worked on.
That flips a business model, because if Twitter was paid for by Twitter users, Twitter would be an entirely different experience, which is exactly what you just said. If the model is I want a good relay for my data and I'm willing to pay 1,000 sats a month or a year or something, now the relay's incentive is to provide me, the user, the best experience, as opposed to the advertiser, who is Twitter's customer. And then the same thing applies to the client too. I mean, if a client gets too censorship heavy because advertisers don't want their advertisement to be next to certain content, and people leave the client. So
now Anthony, but on the other side of the fence there, though, is I believe it's entirely possible that in the future there could be, Twitter could do this, or a brand new company could become a very closed type Twitter scenario where they have their own relays, they have their own clients, and they have their own business model, and they're selling advertisements. The client displays ads, all through the client, and they're making money that way.
I mean, it's certainly possible, but that's the Twitter, Facebook.
Now, if a client starts doing that, though, Anthony, users probably are going to leave, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
we never had an option to leave.
Yes.
Your choice is Facebook, Twitter, and I don't know, Instagram. Who the hell?
I guess.
Instagram? But those are your choices. There's no. I don't like the way Derek is operating his relay, so I'm gonna go hop on Seven's relay because it's GFY compliant. It's got extra GFY. Yeah. So I'll go use that one.
You sign in, a big GFY pops up, and that just makes you feel good.
Right. That's cool. I dig it.
The possibilities are really endless with this. Like
the images and the video is a thing, though, for sure.
That's the only downside. So I have a friend that you mentioned Instagram. I have a friend that's working on a Nostragram. It's just basically all going to be images that you sign in with your keys. You can post a little text, but it's you have to post an image. So he's going to have image hosting, right? So that's where image hosting gets expensive. So there's ways around that. I mean, maybe you have to pay X amount of sats to post an image or something like that. I mean, I think it's like imagenostra.com or something like that, where you have to pay 100 sats to post an image there or something like that.
And then that's his client hosting those images, right?
Yeah. So there's going to be all sorts of business models pop up over time. Some will be better than others. Some will work and some won't, right? I mean, the competition in the market will decide, and users will decide what they want.
Well, and this is the place where that kind of problem will be solved. It's not going to be solved on Twitter or Facebook. It's going to be solved on, hey, I like the decentralized, censorship-resistant nature of Nostr. Can you guys please add decentralized video and images?
Yeah, so the whole IPFS, the interplanetary file system, you can post. I believe people were using that to post images, but I don't think they were displaying properly. I think that people were having issues with that, and because people were having issues a couple weeks ago, people started spinning up image hosting, and I haven't seen that talked about really since then. But something like that could, as a decentralized file sharing system, could be used for that, so people can post their images and not have to worry about censorship and takedowns and things like that.
I mean, for the longest time, I have wanted to like self-host my stuff, right?
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Whether it's either my own data that I just want to hang on to, privately, just put it in my own lockbox so I know it's safe, so I can access it again, as opposed to if backups and whatever die, it's over here, right? And then the hosting aspect as well, because I mean, if you're hosting video, it's YouTube. That's pretty much where you're hosting video. If you are hosting audio, then you're using a podcast host of some kind.
Yep.
Right. And because there's no simple like Start9 type system where you just open up the box and you host your video and your stuff.
So you can do that to host your images fairly easy, and maybe that's a workable solution where you host your notes on your relay, you host your images on your image sharing service. But the problem with that is every single person that views your post is going to have to be downloading those images from you. So if you're somebody that posts a lot of images, then every single person, if you have a lot of followers, they're chewing away at your internet connection, serving out your bandwidth. Now, for some people, that might not be any big deal, but for people that have shitty internet, slow internet, whatever, that's going to be an issue. So there does need to be some type of solution for that. But, I think that somebody will come up with something. But for right now, at the protocol level, with text posts, and you can use markdowns. You can make posts bold, have italics, indents, lists, number.
Well, and you can point to links too, right?
Yeah, and you can do links, so you can make things. You can format your posts, is what I'm getting at. So they're not just all ugly. People are posting their GIFs and their memes. We have those. They're not stack chain quality, but they're good. They're good.
Well, okay, Derek. I might get some Nostr just in case it catches on.
Just in case, man. You might want to post some notes in case it catches on.
That's awesome, man. We've chewed up Nostr for like a solid hour, man.
We have.
We didn't talk about anything else, which is fine. I'm happy learning about Nostr today. Is there anything that we missed? Like anything that you wanted to mention about it that we didn't talk about?
We hit some subjects on it, talking about the Lightning Network and integration. I think it's more important than maybe I led on. It's not like it is so tightly integrated that no other, like, shitcoins can't do this. You can't, with the speed and the simplicity to create a QR code and send a sats, one sat equals one like, like
Right.
things like that. You can do that. You can easily integrate payments, and everybody's profile has the lightning bolt on it, and you want to send them sats for something they did that you like. You go to their profile, you click the button, you send them sats. They have a good post. You
Is there
click the post, you send them sats. Like, there's I mean, sending Bitcoin and creating a value for value economy inside Nostr is almost like that's like Nostr's like killer feature. Beside, like, number one is decentralization and censorship resistance. Number two is probably Lightning.
Yeah. So is it just Bitcoiners there? Like, is this one? Is it going to be one of those things where people who are not Bitcoiners
eventually other people will join, right? But so a couple weeks ago, Vitalik came over and posted. Now, there's no 100% guarantee that it was him. A couple people did say, "Hey, I talked to him on Twitter, and he said that this was him." But and there's been a couple Monero shills, but there was somebody talking about, I don't even know. Some shitcoin blew up the other day. I saw them in like the general chat, which is like the global feed. I saw them in the global feed talking about some shitcoin, but for the vast majority right now, it's not. They'll come eventually. It's inevitable, right? Like,
well, I mean, maybe not. I mean, maybe this is just the place that the Bitcoiners hang out, and as there's more Bitcoiners, it grows. Or maybe this is the place where those who desire censorship-resistant communication come and learn about Bitcoin.
Yeah, but you know what? Shitcoiners can come, because at the end of the day, if they want to use Nostr in their own way and build their own, I don't know, fucking Solana-based clients that go down and reboot all the time, then then they can. I mean, I think everybody's welcome.
Can they though? Because earlier you were saying like Nostr is built, it's like Lightning integrated.
Well, no, I mean, if they wanted to make a client that they did Solana tipping on it, sure, they could. I mean,
I mean, Solana doesn't work that way, but
exactly. Shitcoiners are in disbelief. They literally can't do this. Like,
yeah.
But if they wanted to, they could, I guess, try something. They
could build a client that talked to the Solana mothership and got permission to move coins from one data entry to another data entry.
Do you remember BitClout?
Yes.
So there is some website out there, members.cash. If you go to it, it's a BitClout client, but it's also a Nostr client. So like BitClout, that weird BitClout social network, and Nostr social network posts are all commingled together. So it's a shitcoin client. Do not use it. But so those things are going to exist as time goes on, I'm sure.
Right.
That's what happens when things are open, right? Anybody can do anything with them they want.
Yeah, I mean, it's a social media platform that... Is this the first open source social media platform like this?
Well, Mastodon's open source.
Yeah, but it's based off of centralized server. This basically added the public-private key aspect to social media, essentially. Because, I mean, the relays are servers.
Yeah, I mean, they are. It's a server application. Yeah.
But you just don't. The relays manage users.
No, they would receive JSON messages. They would receive like text messages. They're really, really dumb what they do. There's no user management there. No, the clients do all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if I set up my own relay, then that's essentially just hosting my own data. Because my relay is connected to the rest of the network, that's how everybody sees all my stuff.
Yeah, so there's some neat talk right now that what could happen is you run your own relay. Like the guy that made the software for my relay, he's working on this right now, where maybe I only post everything I post to my own relay, and then my relay is configured to mirror to a bunch of bigger relays around the world. So I only post to mine, and then mine sends it out everywhere, to multiple places.
Yeah.
So
Imagine
that kind
you
of
could set up
hierarchy is
some
coming
kind of
too.
like relay sharing too.
Yeah.
Right? Where you basically say, I've set up my relay and Derek has his relay. So you know what? We're gonna be buddies and we're gonna do sharing. So everything that you put on yours will end up on mine and vice versa.
Absolutely. So if my hard drive dies, you have a copy of all my events.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like Semi and I do that. Like he has a private relay, I have a private relay, and we allow each other to connect to each other's relay. And I think False Faucet connects to our relays as well.
And private relay doesn't mean private. Private as in people can't see your stuff. It means only you and people you authorize can use it.
Yeah. There's a white list and an allow list and a block list, or a white list and a black list. So I whitelisted my public key, Semi's public key, and False public key to post on it. So I have their data, and if they're all the relays they use out in the world block them, well, Derek's got them covered. I have it, and we can rebroadcast it somewhere for them if we need to.
Cool. That is pretty cool. I mean, the image and video thing is the only thing that I could see. I mean, if they could do image and video right now, done deal. Like literally everything else would be purposeless at this point in time.
So it's not going to be able to do that because it's just JSON messages and WebSockets. Like in layman's terms, it's just text going to websites. I mean, so it won't, but there'll be some creative things for it. Like you'll have, based on your NIP05 ID, you would own images on an image server but it's still a centralized host. You're right. So I don't know. That's a thing for people to solve. You're not wrong, because if you're using Derek's client.com and I go away and you spin up Anthony's client.com, well, all the images left when I went away, so you don't get those back, and then your posts with those images.
I think people will solve this problem, and decentralized uncensorable text is still
pretty powerful
to convey freedom of speech.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
Pictures and videos are important.
Yes.
Because a picture can show you a thing that happened. A picture can show you a bad thing that happened.
Yes.
Boom. Here's this authoritarian in X country. Look at the terrible thing he did. Videos can show and explain it, but words can do it too. And if you can't censor the words, you can get the information. It just takes a little bit longer. So this sounds like a terrific step in the right direction. Like I said, you got me.
We got you. We got him. All right. I'm excited, Anthony.
I'm gonna hit up Nostr Derek tomorrow. Master.
I don't know if anyone has Stack Chain God King at nostrplebs.com.
I can't do that. I can joke about calling myself God King, but I can't actually do it.
But you can do Anthony. I don't think we have an Anthony. Actually, well, I don't know. We have multiple domains. I'm pretty
sure you guys told me somebody took it.
Somebody did take Anthony, but they didn't get your last name. So
no, nobody ever gets my last name. Except now that I said it, I'm gonna have to get it before this episode is released, or else
or some fucking nobody will go out there and buy it. Oh man.
Derek, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you about Nostr. Do you have any closing thoughts? Do you have any last words, man?
Last words. Well, if you're a Nostr pleb or a Bitcoin pleb, visit nostrplebs.com and pick up a NIP05 identifier and Lightning address and a whole bunch of other services that we have plan on offering. Like, we're more than just dudes slinging code at the internet. We're trying to build an actual service provider for Nostr that's sustainable for the future, and we're really excited. So we would love to hook you up with some of our services. And
Awesome.
Anthony, thank you for having me. It's been fun.
You're welcome.
I love being on here with you and talking. I love watching the show grow, and the Adopting Bitcoin series is phenomenal. I'm super happy and excited and proud of everything you're doing, and I'm happy that you let me be a part of it and be on here.
I appreciate that you are a part of it, man. I just wrapped up Tachira. So thank you, sir. And for everybody out there watching, have fun, stacking sats.